Hi, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, government setting up over 200 e-commerce trading sites for rural businesses. Also coming up, hotels project business to pick up by September as a few businesses resume operations. And we head back to the ports where the Ghana Revenue Authority says operations have now been automated. We'll bring you details of all those stories and others in this half hour of Business News. Tonight, some players in the hospitality industry in Kumasi are expecting business to peak from September despite the government relaxing some restrictions. Many of the hotels that opened after the easing of restrictions say they are experiencing very low patronage a week into business. Majority of the hotels are still closed. My colleague Prince Apia has been speaking to some stakeholders who project the industry could begin seeing a boost later this year.
The hospitality industry in Kumasi has been one of the hardest hit in the face of COVID-19. A week after government relaxed the restrictions, hotels like Micklin, Sunset, Royal Lameta have opened for business in Kumasi. But others, including Golden Tulip Kumasi City, are still closed. So after a week since government relaxed the restrictions on social gathering, which meant that hotels could hold workshops and conferences. Here in Ashanti regions, the hotels are still struggling to get people to patronize their services. We've been speaking to Benny Sofair, who is operations manager for Micklin Hotel in Kumasi.
Yes, we're expecting people to come in, but it seems still, even though the restrictions have been relaxed, but still it's not forthcoming. Yeah, for now we have a few guests in here. We have about 10 guests for now, but you know we have 60 rooms, and if you have 10 guests, you're looking at utilities, you're looking at so many things to do, paying your staff and all that. We are hoping that things will pick up. And this is not us. It's a conference hotel and we are always running programs, but now the conferences are not forthcoming as we expect. We are not running conferences at all. The whole week there's no conference. In a week we could have, I can say we run about 15, 20 conferences, both residential and non-residential. Okay, aside the parties and all that, yes. But it's so you can see how the impact this.
Operators of some of these hotels say they have had to settle their administrative and fixed costs, though they are struggling with patronage.
But when it comes to detergents, you know, we have to, it's something that we are doing consistently. I mean, you know, washing of hands, and you need your liquid, your soap, you need your sanitizers, you need your tissue. These are things we buy frequently, irrespective of the number of people you have.
Some of them are, however, projecting business could pick up from September. Prince Apia reporting.
Now, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority says the newly deployed Integrated Customs Management System ICOMS is efficient. Though Customs does admit the system had offtake challenges, it says these were immediately addressed. It denies grappling with teething problems as being asserted by the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Here's a report from our Tema correspondent, Kwame Anka. The new system was deployed at the Takoradi and Tema ports a few months ago. Customs, Ghana Link, among other names behind the newly integrated customs management system, ICOMS, have come under intense pressure from the port community. Responding to concerns of freight forwarders in Tema, however, Customs maintains its grounds that ICOMS is efficient. One critical area of concern is the bill of entry, which freight forwarders want addressed. Emmanuel Ohini Asante is commissioner in charge of Accra Collection and chairman of the implementation team of ICOMS.
ICOMS does that automatically and generates a new bill of tax. This is a more effective way of managing changes in exchange rate rather than the post-entry as was the case in the old system. The 1% inspection fee in the case of general goods and new vehicles and 1% examination fee in the case of used motor vehicles are administrative fees and not related to a service provider. So long as a bill of entry goes through classification and evaluation process, the payment of this fee will be required. Also, the tax base for the calculation of ad valorem taxes in Ghana has not changed and is duly enforced in the ICOMS. The upfront relief of the payment of 1% IRS tax deposit is not permanent and subject to periodic review. All taxpayers who require an upfront relief of this tax from GRA after approval are updated into ICOMS as and when the approval is done.
Meanwhile, Customs admits challenges with the tax identification number from the onset, but that, it says, has been addressed subsequently. Emmanuel Ohene says system challenges have been remedied.
The TIN, which we all call it, is actually the tax identification number, has been working since day one of the deployment of ICOMS. However, we had some challenges on the first day of deployment, and they were resolved on the second day of June 2020. So it is not an issue where we will flatly deny that there were no challenges. Indeed, there were some system challenges with the tin populating in the ICOMS, which was detected very early to resolve, and we resolved it. And since then, the ICOMS has been populated with the tin.
It is the expectation of the GRA that by end of year, it will take 48 hours to clear cargo from date of discharge to date of release. Kwame Yanke's report for Joy Business.
Well, so Customs there, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority saying that the problem has been fixed. Let's find out if that's indeed the situation. Our Tema reporter, Kwame Yanka, has been monitoring the situation at the Tema ports. Kwame, great to have you on Business Live tonight. So, are the challenges fixed?
Well, Daryl, it depends on where you stand, because even with the stakeholders, it looks like some are beginning to appreciate where Customs is coming from in terms of working on challenges that seem to be approaching day on or other days that go by. Because in fact, some are engaged this afternoon. Well, the view that yes, as at yesterday, they made some entries where they were having some challenges, but as at this morning, those challenges have been resolved or attended to, or which they can proceed to the next stage. So at least day by day or as the days go by, challenges that seem to come by are addressed, but it's not as they're not as efficient as expected. So for them to have the days of GCNet and West Blue, where they were having a very similar flow, it's going to take some time, or it's a matter of time, if I say.
All right, thank you so much, Kwame Yanka, giving us that update. We'll keep checking, see how this goes on through. I mean, we are ending this week, so throughout this week and the next. Thanks very much indeed. Now, moving on to other stories, the Automobile Dealers Union of Ghana has sent a word of caution to government to withdraw the Customs Amendment Act 2020, which allows automobile giants to establish assembling plants in the country or face a series of demonstrations. Addressing a press conference, the General Secretary of the union, Clifford Anso, stated that government is not only losing revenue but also going to cause job losses. There's more in this report.
According to the Automobile Dealers Union Ghana, their persistent push for certain clauses in the Customs Amendment Act 2020 to be withdrawn has yielded no fruits. Addressing the media, the General Secretary of the union, Clifford Anso, said the bill was finally passed without their inputs.
Aspects of Customs Amendment Act 2020, which seeks to ban importation of overage and salvage vehicles into the country. The Act has 7 clauses, which 5 out of the 7 are all deliberate instruments to cut off the operations of the dealership industry in Ghana. The framers of this law, in their wisdom, know very well that there is no way, and it is not easy, for that matter, a local importer or dealer for second-hand vehicles can get clean title. the intention is just to deprive you from your businesses and give advantage to others. We are therefore asking government to repeal or withdraw this law within 2 weeks before we hit the streets, despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
The union in their position believes the state will lose in excess of over 800 million Ghana cedis in the next 3 years through the tax holidays granted the manufacturers.
Others have realized that Clause 1 of the Act, which seeks to give tax holiday or rebate to the registered assemblies or manufacturers under the Ghana Automotive Development Program on fully built unit vehicles, should be extended to all. Section 55 of Act 891. What this means is that if a manufacturer or assembler imports Toyota Land Cruiser V8, for example, into the country under the program, this act or law grants the duty payable on it as free. But if a local dealer imports the same vehicle, you need to pay plus 35% on the duty payable, which is incredible. It may interest you to know that this policy is estimated to cost 802,251,785 Ghana cedis in custom duties and taxes for the first 3 years alone. The question we ask here is that who actually is the beneficiary? Does it make economically sound at all?
Effective September this year, the Customs Amendment Bill will see the importation of car parts for assembly in the country. Toyota, Renault, VW are among other companies that have shown readiness to operate when COVID-19 pandemic normalizes. Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
You're watching Business Live. In other news, the National Buffer Stock Company says rise to senior high schools is 100% Ghanaian. The CEO, Abdul Hanan Wahab Aludiba, adds importers are also willing to cut down on importation and take a certain percentage from local producers. Ghana has been working at cutting its grain imports. Since 2017, the country has not imported maize.
From 2017, we haven't imported maize into this country. But for rice, we are still importing some quantities of rice simply because the whole rice value chain has to be looked at, which the Minister for Food and Agriculture has set up a technical committee on rice marketing in Ghana to look at it. Because first of all, we have identified that we do produce, but sometimes the quality of what we produce and what comes in, sometimes in terms of the physical, I'm talking about physical quality. You see our Ghana rice or our local rice that has some stones and foreign materials and different color, different varieties in one bag. So these are the issues that we are dealing with, helping them to, have some modern equipment attached to their mills that can, like this, stoners and color sorters. So that is what we are doing, and I'm sure in a few years to come will also close that gap of rice, import. And in the technical committee, it's interesting to note that the importers, the technical committee comprises farmers, rice millers, and importers. These are major importers of foreign rice into our country. They are on that committee, and then the financial ADB is also on that committee, Barclays Bank and some other, I think NIBT is also on that committee. So this technical committee on rice marketing in Ghana are working closely with the various stakeholders. The importers are very willing to take certain percentage of what they import locally here. So, but the issue has to do with how do we, fine-tune the quality of what we are doing, also availability.
Now moving on to one of our top stories tonight, government is setting up over 200 e-commerce trading sites for rural communities to do business online. This is part of initiatives to minimize human interaction through business transactions and operations. Minister for Communications, Esla Owusu-Kufo, said to make this a success, the Ministry of Communications is rolling out a project to renovate and equip all community ICT centers in the country.
business operations are becoming the trend in the country, many communities still lack access to internet and digital infrastructure to promote their use. The project by the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication is to ensure that all existing ICT centers in the country become functional as well as establishing new ones. Minister for Communications Esla Usu-Ekufu believes that this will help to promote businesses online and bridge the digital gap.
For whatever it is, and we're going to move to the era when you can decide whether you want to either work online or offline. And now it has become imperative with all these physical distancing protocols that are being put in place to be able to put up the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, which will enable our citizens to engage, live, and thrive in the post-COVID world. It's important, and that is why we're actively reactivating all these centers, equipping them, providing somewhere none exist, and working to provide the backbone infrastructure which will power all these systems.
Municipal Chief Executive for Gan West, Clement Wilkinson, is confident that the initiative will help the communities access many government initiatives online.
This is a fantastic approach. ICT is a way of, getting to the world. We have this type of ICT center 3 in the municipality. Where we are now is Mahia, and Kwashikuma, then the municipal assembly itself, we have 1 day. So that makes 3, and we are going to use it. I know when you come to this area, people thought it's a village, but let me tell you for the facts. They are already using it.
The communities benefiting from the initiative include Manhiam, Kwashikuma, and Dansuma.
Research and policy think tank CATS Ghana is warned of negative consequences if government presses ahead with a legislation to check a telecom market dominance. According to CATS Ghana, the move by the National Communications Authority could serve as a disincentive for giant companies to continue investing in our economy. Director of CATS Ghana, Apia Kusiadumako, is also proposing the passage of the Draft Competition and Fair Trade Practices Bill of 2019 as a better approach to addressing this issue.
Current NCA Act is very lame in addressing the issues of competition and antitrust in the market. We need to have the Draft Competition and Fair Trade Practices Bill of 2019 to go to Parliament so that, when that law is passed, it can better address the issues happening in the telecom sector than the measures being put forward by the Communication Ministry.
Assuming the NCA decides to proceed unheeded to this maybe policy advice, looking into the future, what do you think is the possible implication on investments in the telecoms industry?
I think, like I said, MTN will scale down their level of investment. They will only be raising any rent from their current investment. And when the other firms that are also not investing, they also probably not also invest further. So the telecom sector will die, and then Ghana, to take you an hour to even download a single email because there's no investment in the sector. So I think that the regulator has to be very careful to ensure that whatever action that it takes, it's taken in a good faith, in a way that will be a win-win for the investor, the industry, and also the consumer.
Now, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Nana Aboagye-Wiafe, so the first, believes the savings culture in Ghana has dropped drastically as people have no surplus to set aside as savings. Charles Aite has more.
The savings culture among Ghanaians is low, with 2019 figures from the Ministry of Finance showing that 48% of adult population in Ghana are financially excluded. President of Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Nana Aboagye-Wiafe, was the first, is worried matters could be worse in the wake of COVID-19 as job losses continue to spike.
The habit of savings has been seriously affected. Those who have investments are also disinvesting.
There are concerns this development could impact banks, loan repayment and credit financing.
This pandemic has affected every part of our economy, and we need to take pragmatic decisions, very efficient and effective decisions, and radical decisions to make things run better.
But even as the chamber raises concerns over a low savings culture, latest stress tests conducted by the Bank of Ghana in April 2020 suggest that banks are resilient and well-positioned to withstand mild to moderate liquidity and credit shocks in these COVID-19 times.
Now, the managing director of Ecobank Ghana, Dan Saki, says a decision to sanction banks that were found culpable in the Bank of Ghana's recent report for regulatory breaches is a sole decision of the regulator. He says it will be proper for the banks to be engaged. Mr. Saki spoke to Joy Business after Ecobank donated to the Infectious Disease Center of the Ghana East Hospital. Here's more in Fred Duho's report.
Managing Director of Ecobank, Dan Saki, paid a visit to the Ghana East District Hospital, where the bank, in collaboration with Ecobank Foundation, donated an amount of 1.3 million Ghana cedis and PPEs amounting to 700,000 Ghana cedis towards the project. According to him, the amounts and the materials lay credence to the bank's objective to hold customers dear to their hearts.
Well, the donation is significant, but we are also not in ordinary times. When you are affected by a pandemic, as we are currently confronted with as a nation, it is important that all stakeholders rally behind the government and bring whatever support we can. So what we are doing today, one, falls within our vision of ensuring that we are operating within a community, and that community has to be one which takes well-being seriously, just as we do. So we are doing this, one, to ensure that our staff are safe, to ensure that clients are safe, ensure that the entire population is safe. And that is the only time that we as an institution would have an environment that is safe within which to operate.
Touching on the recent Bank of Ghana report, which found some banks culpable for illegal billing of clients, the MD added various banks in the country have equally reduced costs on digital services and should be engaged by the regulator.
I think it's a question of collaboration. It is important that we work with our clients, especially during this difficult period. And as you are aware, all banks have virtually had to reduce charges on digital products to allow clients to transact during the period. That confirms that banks as an institution have the safety of their clients and the well-being of their clients at heart. And if we've gone to that extent of reducing charges, I'm not sure that banks will deliberately overcharge. So where there are a few errant ones, it calls for a conversation. And I think any customer who feels that he has been overcharged should approach his bank and have a discussion on it.
But now the Bank of Ghana has already intervened, and if they want to sanction those banks, will you agree?
That's a regulatory issue, and I think that falls within Bank of Ghana's ambit. So,
receiving the money and items on behalf of the private sector and Noguchi, Professor Abraham Annan indicated, despite the drop in resources from donors, they hope to complete the Infectious Disease Center by the end of June.
We are happy that we have partners like Ecobank and also the COVID-19, fund, which is coming on board so strongly to strengthen their partnerships. And this also will provide a very good platform for enhancing research in Ghana. And the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, our mandate, the way it stands, obviously, this facility linking up with our mandate is going to bring the whole nation another dimension forward.
Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We've got the day's latest over there. Be sure to check it out, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We are back same time tomorrow.